Alright, welcome back. This is, I guess, technically mock draft 2.0 of mine for this year. I don't know how long this is going to be. This is a 3-round mock, and it could go for a while. So I wanted to share some thoughts more than just type a sentence or two on each pick. I may spend more time on others. I may spend more time on some than others, especially as we get into the second and third rounds. I'm going to spend even more time. No, I'm going to spend less time. And hopefully you enjoy the video. The mock itself, feel free to leave your thoughts on the picks. I'm sure we're going to see, lots of trades. No trades in this. So we'll see how it goes. Rapidly approaching. The draft is in like a month and 2 weeks, something like that. So we're getting pretty close to it. But without further ado and blabbing and yapping, which I may do a lot of in this video, we're going to move on to pick one. Again, not doing trades. The Titans could very well trade this pick. They could very well stay and pick one of two other players. But for this mock, I am going to have them take Cam Ward. I think he's deserving of being pick one. I think in a lot of classes, he would still be pick one, not necessarily last year, but in this year's class, and he obviously did himself a lot of favors by coming back to school. I think he might have been a mid-round pick at best last year. Coming back drastically, there we go, drastically improved his draft stock to the point where he's in contention to be the first overall pick in this draft. If the Titans don't want to take him, obviously, we'll see the next two players very soon that they might take. Or they could trade down. The Giants, the Raiders, the Jets, some teams at the top that do need a quarterback. And there are really only two that are going to go first round. I know in my previous mock, I did have a third, and he was in the top 10. And we're going to get to him at the top of the second round, I think. But, yeah, Cam Ward going to the Titans at pick one. There's not a whole lot else to say here. I mean, Will Levis kind of split time with Mason Rudolph. He could be your future. He's still young, obviously. I mean, I'm a Colts fan, so I'm kind of dealing with a similar thing where Anthony Richardson was drafted so highly, but we're talking about bringing in competition. Is that going to be Justin Fields? Is that going to be Sam Darnold? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Or is it going to be Joe Flacco back or Gardner Minshew back now that he's been released by the Raiders? What are we talking about here? So will the Titans go out and do this and say, Will, thanks, but you're going to be our backup? Or do they trade down or pass on Cam or do something else and say, we also may bring in some competition in the form of an Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields or Sam Darnold or Russell Wilson or Trey Lance or Daniel Jones? Oof. So anyway, those possibilities are all on the table, obviously. I know if you see Cam Ward and you're like, where's so-and-so? Why is he the number one pick? I get it. I completely understand. And we're going to see the next two players in the next two picks. So at pick 2, it's going to be Abdul Carter for me. Myles Garrett probably is going to just get traded like in the next week. And I'm going to upload this video and I'm going to kick myself like, dang, if I just waited another day, I could have had the Myles Garrett trade. But we don't have that in here, so... But even if they aren't able to trade, or if they don't want to trade him, and he ends up pulling out, whatever the details there happen with Myles Garrett, the Browns do need more edge rush help besides Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is great. Myles Garrett's top 5 defensive player in the league currently. But outside of him, they've got some kind of project guys that are younger but haven't really done much. I think if you take Abdul Carter here, you're getting probably your number one edge rusher for 2025 because Miles probably won't be around. The other thought would be one of the two Colorado players, which we're going to see soon. With Cam Ward off the board, could they consider Shedeur Sanders here at 2? I think you do. I think you consider him. But in this scenario, we are going to go with Carter, take the edge rusher. Then at pick 3, it's going to be Travis Hunter. Again, if the Giants were to trade up for Cam Ward, that obviously would send the Titans probably taking Travis Hunter. And the Titans could take Abdul Carter at 1 with Harold Landry possibly being released. They could take Travis Hunter at 1. I think these are the 3 players that could go 1. And obviously in this draft, I have them going 1, 2, 3. So, but yeah, the Giants, they need a quarterback too. So Shedeur Sanders is in play. Have to consider it. But in this one, we're going to take his teammate. As I said, he could easily go number 1. But right now for the Giants, I think they'll feel lucky to get him at 3. Number 4, maybe a bit of a surprise. He has not been tackle 1 for very long. However, post-combine, I think to me, there's a good chance he ends up being the first offensive lineman drafted. And obviously I think really there's only a 2-man competition. I like Kelvin Banks a lot, and you'll see him pretty soon. But right now his main competition is Will Campbell. And Will Campbell played left tackle, M'Mbu played right tackle. For the Patriots, they do need a left tackle. If they take M'Mbu, could he play left tackle? I think he could. Would he play right tackle? Kick Mike Onwenu, who's also like 6'3", 6'4", kick him inside the guard. They could do that. M'Mbu could play guard as well. Personally, I would want him to stick at one of the tackle spots. But I think he's put he had a great combine. Let's see, what was his 40-yard dash time? I can look that up real fast. It was sub 5 seconds. That's grade. That's not right. That's not what I need. Yeah, he ran a 6.84. No, that's not what it was. He ran a 4.91. There we go. 4.91. Second among offensive linemen, only behind Jared Wilson, my top center in this class. And we'll get to him later as well. But yeah, the Patriots need offensive line help. They need to protect Drake May. M'Mbu can do that. At pick 5, Tetaroa McMillan. The Jaguars are releasing Christian Kirk, which I think a lot of fans probably thought he was going to get released back when he signed his contract. When he signed the massive contract, and it's like, well, it's 3 years, but you can get out of it. It's got a lot of money that won't carry over, blah, blah, blah. Jaguars nailed the Brian Thomas pick. Yes, you can't only have Brian Thomas. They do have a pair of tackles. I don't know if Walker Little would have gotten as much money as he did had he been on the open market. Maybe. I felt like that, you see the number on that, I felt like it was an overpay at the time. And I can briefly look up Walker Little contract. Can you tell I was very ready for this mock draft? Very, very ready. Every piece of information right in front of me. Definitely not looking up anything on the fly. He signed a 3-year deal for $40 million. So, not egregious. Obviously, just a little over $10 million per year. He did start 8 games last season, and I like him. The bookends of he and Anton Harrison being your tackles, not bad. I think they will need to improve the interior offensive line. But McMillan will give Trevor Lawrence another option. And I kind of like the pairing of he and Brian Thomas. Give a little bit of a juice. A bit of a kickstart, and give some juice to their offense. Pick 6 is going to be Shedeur Sanders. Pretty self-explanatory. The Raiders need a quarterback. They did release Gardner Minshew. They had the option to make Desmond Ridder a restricted free agent, and they did not. And Aiden O'Connell, sadly, is not going to be the franchise guy, I don't think. Is there a chance? Maybe there's a chance. Maybe there is a chance. Um, a very little chance. So we're going to go with Shador in this mock. If he makes it this far to 6, I would have a hard time thinking the Raiders won't take him. If they don't, the Jets are at 7 and would probably take him. So you definitely could see a team trade up to take Shador. I would say probably as early as 3. But maybe even 2. Maybe if the Browns really like Cam Ward and they don't like Shador as much, and a team like the Giants at 3, or the Raiders or the Jets want to take Shador, maybe they can trade down with them. But you don't want to give up on the top prospects when you can get them. So that'd be kind of maybe not the best decision. But hey, you never know. It's the draft. There's going to be probably 10 first-round trades. So just things to think about. Pick 7, New York Jets. Going to go Mason Graham. Going to play him next to Quinnen Williams. And again, yes, I know they have Quinnen Williams, but they do need another kind of a tag team partner for him inside. They could also use some edge depth, I would say, but taking an edge here at 7 felt a little early and a bit rich for what they already have. And of course, I can definitely think of the 2 Jets edge players right now. I can definitely think of them. Can't think of either of them. You think I could at least get one. All that's coming to mind is Bryce Huff. I know he's with the Eagles. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. If you're a Jets fan watching this, you're like, how can you not think of Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald? There you go. Hassan Reddick, by the way, half a sack this season after holding out. Did not have a very good season with him, for him with the Jets. So maybe he goes back to the Eagles. I don't know. But, yeah, Mason Graham for the Jets. Again, they need quarterback. You're not going to get it at 7 unless you take Jackson Dart at 7. So I don't think that's in the cards. Next up, Carolina Panthers. Good on with Will Johnson this time around. And obviously that'll be another pairing of kind of a strength with a strength. You hope, as far as a prospect. But pairing Will Johnson with J.C. Horn in the secondary. Team that could kind of use everything but quarterback. And even, early in the season last year, you weren't positive. But I feel confident with Bryce Young being there. They do have a pair of running backs that you like, in Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. But they kind of need everything else. So, Will Johnson, maybe some injury, or maybe some concern about his injury. But I do think he's still a top 10 caliber player. Going to get him off the board here at 8. Pick 9, Will Campbell's going to the Saints. LSU, the Saints have been drafting offensive linemen high, seemingly, for like the past 10 years. You still don't know what you got with Ryan Ramczyk at this point. Is it Fuaga? Appears to be the left tackle of the future. If he's not, Will Campbell does have tackle flexibility, I would say, but there's the hand size concern. I don't know if I'm knowledgeable enough to know why. I get it, right? Like, you want to be able to extend your long arms and keep the defenders away from the QB. I get that in a nutshell. But can Will Campbell play left tackle? Yeah, I mean, he could. But if you're going to move him inside to guard, I think that would make a lot of sense for the Saints. Try to keep the offensive line strong for Derek Carr, I guess. Maybe Spencer Rattler again. Maybe even Jake Hayner. I don't know. Maybe whichever quarterback you draft in the 2025 draft. But Will Campbell to the Saints, pick 9. Rounding out the top 10, Bears have been busy. Bears made some trades. They got some guards. They got Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. And they got Jonah Jackson from the Rams, former Lion. And I'm thinking maybe Ashton Genty at pick 10. A lot of teams went out and got a running back, even though you're like, did they really need a running back? I think the Bears need a running back. DeAndre Swift is okay. I think he's a good rotational back. Roschon Johnson struggled as a rookie. I'm not sure if he had some injury I think he was hurt at Texas, so maybe maybe it'll come to him in time. I don't know. But Ashton Genty in the conversation for best overall player in this class with Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, those guys at the very top. Getting him a 10, where you've hopefully made your offensive line kind of a strength, should make Caleb Williams' time in Chicago a lot easier. You just turn around, hand him the ball. Imagine being Caleb Williams. You take the snap, you turn around, you just see Ashton Genty standing there. And I get he's only 5'8", but he's just standing there. you know, his stance, his pose, you could say. You run back there, you hand him the ball, and then he runs for 40 yards. I think that'd be pretty good for Chicago. NFC North just seems like a thing. As convinced as I was that the Cowboys were going to end up with him all season, I think he goes earlier than that. So he's starting to feel like a Chicago Bear to me. Pick 11 for the San Francisco 49ers. Going to go with Shamar Stewart. He is interesting. He was listed at 6'6", 290. I think in my Excel database here, I had him listed at 290 or 285 throughout the season. He is only 267, so he's a pure edge rusher. He's not going to play the interior defensive tackle. I wouldn't expect, and he's much faster than anyone would have thought. And yeah, he probably shed some weight so he could run faster at the combine. But if he plays at that weight, and he's a 4.59, 4.6 speed guy, he's a pure edge to me. And the 49ers, again, another pairing of what you hope can be a strength on strength. You have Nick Bosa. Yeah, they could use corner. They could probably use defensive tackle, especially if Javon Hargrave is released. But Shamar Stewart does kind of remind me of when the Niners took Solomon Thomas. I'm hoping for Stewart he's more productive than Solomon Thomas, because that is the knock on him at this point, the production. And it depends on what production you look at. He had a lot of hurries, a lot of pressures. He didn't have many sacks. So you hope he can turn that pressure into sacks. He's also a big body guy. He can defend the run. So he's an interesting guy to me. Pick 12, Dallas Cowboys. Going with Luther Burden with Ashton Genty off the board. I don't think the Cowboys need offensive line help as badly as you might think. Now, losing Zach Martin obviously is a huge punch to the gut. However, you still have your left tackle, your left guard. Now, your center, and again, I'm spacing on the name. It's also 4:40 in the morning as I record this. So forgive me for spacing on names and losing my train of thought and whatnot. Cowboy Cooper Beebe, rookie from Kansas State this past draft. He did play center for them this year. There was some thought that maybe Zach would actually move inside to play center. I think you could get away with maybe signing a center like a Drew Dahlman would be interesting. And playing Beebe at guard. And then you've still got Terrence Steele, who's an okay right tackle. Probably long term you want to upgrade him, but he's still a highly paid right tackle. So you probably are going into next season with him on the roster. They do need another receiver. CeeDee Lamb's great. Luther Burden may not be the ideal fit with CeeDee, but I do think that as a 1-2 combo, that'll be really the best wide receiver pairing that Dallas has had in Dak Prescott's tenure. Brandon Cooks, a free agent, hasn't been the same Brandon Cooks for the past couple of years as he used to be. They've drafted Ryan Florney's name comes to mind. They traded a mid-round pick for a guy from the Panthers. Again, I can't remember his name. If you're yelling at the screen, I apologize. Give me 2 seconds. Wide receiver from the Panthers. Is it Jonathan Mingo? Yeah. Jonathan Mingo. Other receivers they have Jalen Brooks, Kelvin Harmon's hanging around. I thought he retired. I could have sworn he retired. Jalen Moreno Cropper and Jalen Tolbert, Seth Williams, Cavante Turpin, more of a return guy, but did have, I think he had a lot of catches actually. They involved him on offense more this year. Yeah, he had 31 catches, 2 touchdowns. So maybe he's your slot guy, you know? Maybe CD plays a little more outside with the burden. Feels like he'd be a good way to help Dak kick it up a notch. Next up at 13, Miami Dolphins. We're going to have a bit of a Texas run here with just a small break with our next pick. But at pick 13, going to go with Kelvin Banks. And for a long time, he actually was my tackle 1. I think he could stay at left tackle. Teron Armstead has a weird contract thing going on right now where they reduced his salary to basically nothing, but he may still play next year. I don't really know. I feel like it's a cap thing where they're trying to either void year the contract or I don't know. It doesn't seem like a simple restructure to me. But if he does come back and play, Kelvin Banks could play left guard. He could wait. They do need help on the interior, so taking Kelvin Banks probably means day 1 he's probably penciling in as a starting guard, unless Teron Armstead were to retire, I suppose. But I think it's good value for Banks. And there's another tackle we're going to get to that probably will go. Yeah, it's going to be a while before I get to him, but could potentially go as early as the Dolphins here. I do think offensive line obviously is a huge need. And I was mocking them Membu for a while, but obviously he's gone at 4, and so is Will Campbell. So we're going to take the next best available, and that is Kelvin Banks. 14, my Indianapolis Colts. I really like Tyler Warren. I know there's a lot of hype, and it seems like everyone that's been doing mock drafts loves giving Tyler Warren to the Colts. I'm in on it. I'm not like, this is a slam dunk. He's going to be a Hall of Fame tight end. I'm not going crazy with it, but the Colts need a tight end. It's time. The best tight end we've had since Dallas Clark was 1 year of Eric Ebron, where he had a healthy Andrew Luck throwing him the ball. It's just not been a great room for a long time. Love Jack Doyle. I really like Kylan Granson, although he's a free agent. I wanted to like Jelani Woods. I really did. And unfortunately, he's been hurt for the past 2 seasons. Hasn't been able to play. Mo Alley Cox has been a good, rotational guy. We just haven't had a starter. It's not that we haven't had a star. It's we haven't even had a starter, really, since that 1 year of Eric Ebron. I can remember drafting Kobe Fleener. I have a Kobe Fleener jersey, all right? You seen those TikToks that are like, don't call me a bandwagon fan, and they start showing their jerseys? I have a Kobe Fleener Colts jersey, all right? It goes deep. We need a tight end. And shout out to Dwayne Allen as well. Tyler Warren can be that star. He can be more than just a starter for us. Tight end at 14 seems a bit early. I don't care. We need somebody. And Chris Ballard loves to trade down, so I wouldn't be shocked if we end up trading down a few picks. But we may have to take tight end 2, and he's going to come up here soon as well. But, Ballard, nothing surprises me with him. So if we trade down 5 spots, if we trade down 15 spots, I won't be really shocked. But for me, give me Tyler Warren. And I've been saying this since probably early Big Ten season, in the college football season. Just seeing Tyler Warren play. You can hand him the ball. The idea of him with Anthony Richardson, with Jonathan Taylor, with hopefully a good offensive line, for sure you're returning Quentin Nelson at left guard, obviously. Bernard Ryman, left tackle. Don't know about Ryan Kelly. Tanner Bortolini might take that spot. Don't know about Will Fries. Don't know about Braden Smith. I'll maybe get into that later. But just give me Tyler Warren, please. I'm gonna move on because I got to keep going. But give me Tyler Warren. Pick 15. Shout out Mullets if you're watching. Gonna go with Jahdae Barron, Texas corner to the Atlanta Falcons. He's very fast. Didn't I don't think anyone expected him to be as fast as he was. His 40-yard dash was actually not one of the very fastest. He ran 4.39, which was sixth fastest among corners. I think you need another corner. And again, this is another, like, you have A.J. Terrell, but what else do you have? I like Clark Phillips. He's probably your nickel. Jahdae Barron could play in the nickel. But he's athletic enough. He can play boundary. So I'm glad he went out and ran the 4.4. Because I feel more comfortable having him as a mid-first round pick now than I did before the combine, probably. And then our third Texas player in the last 4 picks, maybe a bit of a surprise. It's going to be Matthew Golden to the Cardinals. I like what the Cardinals have been doing on offense. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael, hello? Am I asleep? Sorry. Marvin Harrison Jr. with Michael Wilson. That's where I was. Yeah, with Michael Wilson. It's a good tandem. I don't think Greg Dortch being your wide receiver 3, I think you can upgrade there. They had like Zach Pascal was on the team, Zay Jones was on the team. I think you can continue to upgrade that. And I think that makes Kyler Murray's life easier. And what do the Cardinals need to do, in my opinion? Make Kyler Murray's life easier. I think they need some more weapons on offense. I think they need to honestly rebuild the offensive line short of Paris Johnson. So might see some offensive linemen for them later. There's a tease. I don't know. Pick 17, James Pierce to the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals have lost Sam Hubbard to retirement. He was only 29 years old. But happy retirement to Sam Hubbard. And we're just going to plug in James Pierce. And another freaky athlete from the Combine. He ran the fastest of all defensive ends at 4.47. My concern with him, and probably most people, he is slender. I don't know exactly how he's going to hold up in the run game. And this is also the AFC North, so you got to deal with the Steelers, Browns, and most importantly, the Ravens running games. But he's so fast. He's such a good athlete. You have Trey Hendrickson on one side. I really like the idea of having James Pierce there. And they do have some other young guys like Miles Murphy. Cam Sample comes to mind. I think Joseph Osai is a free agent. So you're losing Osai, you're losing Sam Hubbard. They really need to improve their defense. They also need a guard now that they cut Alex Kappa and he's signed with the Raiders. But it's only one pick. You can only do so much with one pick. So we are going to get some defensive line help in the form of James Pierce Jr. And speaking of D-line help, we're going to go with a defensive tackle to the Seattle Seahawks for the second year in a row. Was it Byron Murphy? Out of Texas, they took last year. We're going to give him Walter Nolan. And I think the combination of those two guys, the Seahawks did release several players, one of them being Draymond Jones. I had to think about it for a second, but I got there. They could use some edge help in Uchenna Nwosu coming back from injury. They've got some other guys. I don't think Darrell Taylor's there anymore. I think they traded him to the Bears last year, but they're an interesting team. Geno Smith is somewhere between the 15th to 20th best quarterback probably. They have good pieces, and then they've also released Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf has requested a trade, by the way. They feel like a prime candidate team that needs a rebuild. Like Madden 26 next year, I might choose the Seahawks as a team to rebuild first. because they're kind of in a bad way at the moment. But are they still going to compete for the playoffs? Yeah, probably. I think they're. We'll see, minus their top receivers. Although you could argue Jackson Smith and Jigba might be the best receiver among the three of those players. But some other mocks I've done recently, I have had them taking a receiver, and I have had them taking a tight end. But I feel like that defensive front, build that up first, along with the O line. But there's this thing about the Seahawks, they don't like taking interior offensive linemen. And I think they actually have some interesting guys in the interior of their line. Olu. His name partially comes to my mind. Again, I'm looking this up. Don't mind me. Is it like Olutimi? Oluwatimi. Oluwatimi. There we go. At center, Anthony Bradford, Christian Haynes, rookie out of UConn. Lincoln Tomlinson may not be back. So I don't even know if the need, kind of like Dallas, I don't know if the need for O-line is really as strong as a lot of people think. So I like Walter Nolan. He offers some good pass rush ability as a defensive tackle. I think it'd be a good pair with Byron Murphy. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pick 19. Going to go with Jalen Walker. Hybrid edge. Probably primarily edge rusher / linebacker. As in, I would rather have him rushing off the edge. But, maybe the coverage and the run defending skills I think will come in time. But as a pass rusher, to get him at 19, I've had him going earlier than this. And I haven't had him going much later than this. So this feels kind of like the very edge of his range. He'll probably could potentially go higher than this by a lot. He could go in the top 10. I think he's that kind of talent. But to get him at 19 here, I think is very good value for Tampa. Some other possible needs. Guard, potentially left guard in particular. I've seen a lot of people giving them a receiver, and I don't love that. Even if they lose Chris Godwin, they've got some young guys, and I don't like Evans. He's also getting older, but again, that's something where I don't think the value is really as big as people probably expect. And I think there's a decent chance that Chris Godwin re-signs with Tampa Bay as well. So, going to go with Walker, help out that pass rush. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is a free agent after not really doing a ton in his 4 years with the team. And Devontae David, again, is a free agent as a linebacker. So that whole entire group kind of needs a revamp. Pick 20, Denver Broncos. Going to go with Colston Loveland, team that I like to take a receiver for. I've taken Ashton Genty here, but I just don't think he's making it to 20. Loveland's tight end 2 for this class for most people. I think you could make an argument that he is the best receiving tight end. I think his receiving route running skills might be slightly ahead of Tyler Warren, but I think Tyler Warren does more things better, which is why I have him as my QB. I looked up, I've got the combine running. I'm rewatching the combine on the side. I looked up, saw Kyle McCord, QB9, and said QB. My bad. Colston Loveland, tight end for the Broncos. They've tried some interesting players like Adam Trotman. Greg Dulcich was a guy that I kind of liked, and they did kind of just give up on him kind of early. So Colston Loveland to the Broncos, help out Bo Nix. Help him take a step up into year 2. There's the QB year 2 curse that tends to bite quarterbacks, so make his life a little bit easier. Same with Anthony Richardson going into year 3 for him. Pick 21, Pittsburgh Steelers, Emeka Egbuka. I think, again, it's kind of a thing where it's a strength for strength thing, but you need more, right? You can't just have George Pickens. And I know Calvin Austin's a decent player. They had Van Jefferson there last year. I just like the idea of having him in the room. It gives you kind of a complete group of guys. And again, for whoever's going to be the quarterback, if it's Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, the same list of guys I mentioned earlier, or whoever it's going to be, maybe they draft someone in the second round. I don't know. Maybe we'll see that in the mock later. I don't know. Pick 22, Chargers going to go with Kenneth Grant. The obvious Michigan Jim Harbaugh connection here. They do need a nose tackle. Remember when they drafted Jerry Tillery? Jerry Tillery, not a run defender. They haven't really had a run defender ever since. The last really good run defending defensive tackle the Chargers had. Is it Antonio Garay comes to mind? Has it been that long? I'm probably exaggerating the fact, but it just seems like that's kind of been a need every year for them, and they don't address it. Sebastian Joseph Day was signed a couple years ago and just kind of, I don't want to say fell off. I'm not trying to be mean to these guys. I don't want to say fell off, but he wasn't as good as he previously was. Wasn't as productive, wasn't as effective for the Chargers. Kenneth Grant's kind of a mountain. I think in my previous video I had him going in the top 10. And I really like him as a prospect. I think he will plug right into that Chargers defense. Now, as I'm making this video, the Chargers did release Joey Bosa tonight. Khalil Mack's also scheduled to be free agent. Edge is a big need. And again, I acknowledge that, but again, you can only solve so many issues with one pick. So we're going to go with Kenneth Grant. Edge probably is something they will look to address in this draft, if not in free agency. Remember, free agency hasn't even started. A lot of needs. If you're watching this, you're like, oh, what about this position for this team? They could very well need that for the draft, but they could fill that need in free agency. You just never know. There's the trade market. There's all these players left and right that are rumored to be getting traded here soon, so we'll have to look at that as well. But I like Grant, Chargers, Harbaugh, Michigan. I don't love Michigan. I'm saying, I'm an Ohio State fan, but and I get your comment in. Michigan's beating us. What is it, 4 years? I get it. I know. We've each won a championship now in the last 2 years, so it's fine. All right, it's fine. Pick 23. The other Georgia edge rusher, going to go with Michael Williams to the Packers. And you think about the Packers D-line, they do run a 4-3. They did transition into more of a 4-3. 4-3 versus 3-4 isn't that big of a deal. What I am concerned about is Rashawn Gary hasn't been as dominant. Lucas Van Ness really hasn't done that much yet. And who else do they have? Do they still have Preston Smith on roster? Kingsley Enagbare. I liked him, by the way. There's somebody I'm forgetting. Is it Enagbare? There's somebody I'm forgetting again. As I take 5 minutes to find the player I want to find. When I upload this video, I'll try to do timestamps so you can skip around to the next pick if you like. But I'm definitely forgetting somebody out of Florida. Brenton Cox Jr. My second mock draft video I ever made that Mullet helped me so much with. I had a big board, and Brenton Cox was, I believe, exactly number 50 on my big board. He ended up, was he undrafted? He might have even gone undrafted, I don't remember. He was either undrafted or a very late pick. But I just remember liking him as a player, and he played, finally, for the first time this season. Appeared in 7 games and had 4 sacks. So he could be a contributor for sure. But, giving them another edge rusher with the potential of Michael Williams, he's another guy that could go much earlier than this. He's a guy that a lot of people have been mocking in the top 10 even for a long time. Unfortunately, we didn't get Combine. I don't think he worked out at all. I don't even remember seeing him there. If he was, my bad. But unfortunately, we didn't get the 40 with him. But he's an interesting prospect. Didn't play a ton this past season. Injury management slash it's Georgia, so you have a lot of guys that you can rotate. But when it's all said and done, I do think he easily is a first round talent. He's got to fit in here somewhere. And Packers, I think it's a legitimate need. Other options, corner certainly. I think this pick could be offered up to maybe DK Metcalf to the Seahawks. I think would be interesting. Cooper Kupp's another receiver. How about a Devontae Adams free agent reunion? Would that work? I don't know if they'd be open to that, or if Devontae would be open to that, but that would sure be interesting. I think the Packers do need a true number one guy. I like the collection that they have, but it would be nice to have that true number one for them, for Jordan Love. Gonna move on though. Keep it moving. Pick 24, Minnesota Vikings. Malachi Starks, first safety off the board. Another guy that's been mocked much earlier. Borderline top 10 pick. I think the Dolphins are a good shot to take him there at 13. But obviously I went with the O-line direction with Kelvin Banks. Starks here at 24 feels like really good value. The Vikings' whole entire secondary could be on. Byron Murphy's a free agent. Stephon Gilmore's a free agent. Harrison Smith's kind of playing year to year, it seems like. Cam Bynum's a free agent. I think Josh Metellus might have a year left. I'm kind of just naming everyone I can think of, but I feel like those are their starters. So certainly Malachi Starks. If Harrison Smith continues to play, I think those are probably your starting duo. Maybe Starks plays some nickel corner. Probably not boundary corner, but maybe he plays in the nickel some. Eventually, I do think he'll be a good starting safety in the league. So he's not slipping out of the first round, certainly for me. Pick 25. I've heard this be called one of the safest picks, and I tend to agree, although I didn't love the 40 time. Pick 25, it's going to be Tyler Booker for the Texans. And I get he's a primarily run-mauling guard, so the 40 time isn't like something that's supposed to stick out. But a 5.38 doesn't seem great. Now, does it? He also had the slowest 10-yard split of any offensive lineman. He's very much not fast, relatively speaking. Yeah, I'm sure he's faster than me. But relatively speaking, not the fastest lineman in the world. They do have Kenyon Green, who was a first-round pick. That this is basically to replace him. Who was the other thing? Is there another Green they traded for? That guy from the Steelers they traded for. They've got just kind of an odd collection of offensive linemen at this point, I feel. I do think Tyler Booker would be a plug-and-play left guard for them. I think he'll be solid in the NFL. I don't think the speed concern is really going to be that bad. There's definitely going to be some players that they can match up with him that are going to take advantage of that. But I think he's going to be a first-round pick, I believe. And to the Texans, who really need some offensive line help for C.J. Stroud, who did suffer from that QB year two. Maybe not regression, because I still think he played well, but constantly under pressure. You can't allow C.J. Stroud to just get sacked over and over like that. So beef up the offensive line. Next up's the Rams here at 26. They're having an interesting offseason. They came out and just volunteered the information that they're trying to trade Cooper Kupp. That kind of felt like it was out of nowhere. I know he's getting up there in age, but I still feel like he and Puka Nacua are a really good tandem. Jordan Whittington, is he ready to take a step up and be the wide receiver 2? Tutu Atwell is also a free agent, so certainly receiver could be in play if one of these top guys fall. But for this mock, we're going to go with Maxwell Harrison, the fastest corner at this year's combine. And again, the combine doesn't mean everything, obviously, but you can get some nice data, some nice metrics to look at, like the fact that Maxwell Hairston ran a 4.28, or like his 10-yard split was a 1.5, which is only 1/100th off of Darian Porter, who we'll get to in a bit. But when thinking about needs for the Rams, and the other interesting thing, of course, is the drama that could have happened with Matthew Stafford. For a couple days there, at least, we were thinking Matthew Stafford was going to get traded, and then he didn't, and he's going to stay. So, no need to think about Jackson Dart here, But improve the secondary. I think Harrison, certainly a great athlete, will be a boundary corner. He was, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I believe he was listed at like 6 feet 170. So it's interesting that he's actually heavier and ran faster than anybody else. So obviously he's not 170, he's 180. So that makes a little bit of a difference, I would say. Pick 27 is another one where I feel like I got to explain a little bit, but it's going to be the Ravens taking Josh Simmons, the left tackle out of Ohio State. He could definitely go earlier. He's another player that's like, I could see him going much earlier than this. Does have the, I don't want to call it an injury concern. He's coming off an injury. But as far as explaining, I do want to take a second to say the Ravens could very well bring back Ronnie Stanley. If they do, you're probably looking for something else, right? And also with a player coming off an injury, protecting the maybe should be 3-time league MVP Lamar Jackson. Not every team is going to want a rookie to do that, right? I think regardless of those notions, I think you still take him if he's here at 27. Even if Ronnie Stanley's still on this roster, I think he's going to be a very good left tackle in the league. And I think to get him at 27, I think you'd be pretty happy with that. Just like you were a long time ago when you drafted Ronnie Stanley in the first round. When that was the same draft as the Laramie Tunsil gas mask debacle. Remember that? Jack Conklin was the other tackle in that mix. And I think he was the second one off the board of the Titans. That's an interesting memory to remember at 5 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, I'll move on to something else that unfortunately is kind of interesting. That being the selection here of Mike Green. Going to go with him to the Lions at pick 28. Now, I won't talk too much about it here. I'll let other people talk about it because I only know as much as what's been reported. But he does have some allegations against him. They're not recent, which again, does that matter? If it happened, it's some bad things. As a football player, he's probably more talented than pick 28. He'd maybe even be a borderline top 10 pick without these allegations. However, if some of that stuff did happen, even if it is years ago, it's going to be a concern for some teams. And that could include the Lions. I think the Lions have a particular culture right now with Dan Campbell. I think Mike Green, the player, fits in with that. I don't know 100% if they would even consider him based on the things that are out there with him. But, again, as a football player, pick 28. Obviously, if there's like a... You remember when Ray Rice, when that news broke, and everyone was like, oh, that's terrible. Okay. And then the video came out, and it's like, ooh, okay, he's done. So... Tough to say with Mike Green. I'm gonna keep it moving. I think, again, as a player, I think he's a first-round pick. We'll see what happens with him as the process goes along. Pick 29, it's another edge rusher. It's going to be Nick Scorton to the Washington Commanders, who most notably traded their 2 edge rushers. Traded Chase Young. Was he traded? This was 2 years ago, right? I can't remember. I believe they traded him to the Niners. I know Montez Sweat was traded to the Bears. I think Chase Young was traded in that offseason. But anyway, their best edge rusher is kind of like Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong. So we're going to try to upgrade that with a much younger option and hope that he becomes the best of the three of those, certainly. Buffalo Bills at 30, it's Nick Emanwari. And Nick Emanwari, I have to bring up the combine again. Nick Emanwari ran 4.38 at 6'3", 220. And holy moly. Sorry about that. Some random ad on NFL.com. Give me a jump scare, man. He ran 4.38 with a 1.49 10-yard split, a 43-inch vertical jump, and did 20 bench reps, just for good measure, I guess. You know, why not knock out 20 reps? Bills need some safety help. Love Damar Hamlin as a person. Obviously, I don't need to rehash what happened with him. I'm not convinced he's a starting caliber safety. They did draft the safety in last year's class, and of course, it's another name I'm forgetting at the moment. I think, and again, you want to have a rotation of guys. Cole Bishop out of Utah, they drafted. Damar's also a free agent, by the way. I don't know about Taylor Rapp. He might be a free agent as well. I think Nick Emanwari steps in immediately and is probably the best safety in that room. He's such an athletic freak. And that term's probably passed around a lot about a lot of guys because it's the NFL and everybody's a good athlete. He's a great athlete. He is a freak. And when I was watching the combine live, I was like, oh, this could be like. I compared him to Cam Chancellor in my previous mock video, and as I was watching that, and I was like, oh, he's 220. Oh, he ran 4.4. Oh, I was like, oh, this could be like Brian Dawkins. This could be like one of the best safeties. As far as a prospect, his athletic traits, he could become one of the best safeties in the league. So at 30, feels a little late. Again, positional value and all that. There's a world where he goes at like 14 to the Colts, to be honest. So, 30 feels a little low. I'll be honest, but that's where he happened to fall in this mock. Pick 31 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to go with the Gray Zabel, the tackle out of North Dakota State. North Dakota State mentioned. How about that? They seem to always have a handful of players, and it's like I haven't seen a North Dakota State game since last year when I was looking at some tape to watch some guys. But Gray Zabel does have experience with multiple offensive line positions. The Chiefs have traded Joe Thuney. The Chiefs do have Creed Humphrey at center, and they have franchise tag Trey Smith at right guard. Juwan Taylor, you might be stuck with him for another year at right tackle. They have some guys that could be options like Kingsley Suamataia. There's a name I remembered. There's also, is it Wanya Morris was the other one. Like those are your penciled in probably your left tackle and your left guard right now. Gray Zabel's probably good enough to win one of those jobs as a rookie. I think they do need to improve that offensive line, especially after trading Joe Thuney to the Bears for, a 4th-round pick? Or a future 4? A 2026 4th-round pick. An interesting trade for the Chiefs. I really like it for the Bears, but... And, they want to pay Trey Smith. So, you got to make some things shuffle around. I get that, but to give up on Thuney, who's been your best offensive line... Well, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are awfully good too, but to me, they need some tackle help. I think Gray Zabel could be that left tackle for them. And rounding out the first round, we're going to go with Derek Harmon for the Eagles. Now, I know they have Jalen Carter, and I know they have Jordan Davis, but Milton Williams is a free agent. He's going to get paid. He's going to be a guy that you look at and it's like, oh, wow, he got that much money? I genuinely think somebody's going to pay a lot of money for him on the market. And the Eagles have already paid Zach Bond. They already gave Saquon. Did they give him an extension? Did they just give him a raise? I'm kind of confused what they actually did with Saquon, but they gave him more money. So that means there's less money for other people. So Milton Williams is probably the one that's probably going to be gone from that Super Bowl defense, along with maybe Josh Sweat. So I might see an edge rusher in play for them as well. But as it is here, we're going to round out the first round with Derek Harmon out of Oregon. I'm an hour in, so thanks for sticking around this long. We're going to move to the second round, and again, I'll try to be quicker. And the third round will be very, very quick. But here with the second round, we're going to pass on QB for the Browns. We're going to build up the roster. We're going to get a running back, Marion Hampton. We're going to think about QB in next year's class, which might feature some players like Arch Manning, Carson Beck, Drew Aller, who might have very well been the number 1 overall pick in this draft. Some people were saying, if you buy into Drew Aller's primacy. I don't know if I do, but that's another conversation for another time. Pick 34, we are going to go with the QB for the Giants, and it is Jackson Dart. And I do think there's a decent chance somebody trades up into the end of the first round to take Jackson Dart to get that 5th-year option on him. Teams like doing that with quarterbacks especially. But if you don't have to trade up for him and you can just get him at 34, you might as well take him if you're at the Giants, who they may still sign a veteran. They might be an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson spot. And obviously Jackson Dart would be able to sit and learn for a year, which I think would help him long term, and I think it would be a good move for the Giants. Jahad Campbell to the Titans. He's definitely been a player I've been mocking in the first round a lot. Just couldn't quite find a good spot for him in this mock, but very early second round. And then Trey Amos to the Jags, who need corner help after not going that direction in the first round. The next set, we got Quinshon Judkins to the Raiders. I really like Quinshon. If the Browns took him, that feels like that would be just a fun thing because of Ohio State to the Cleveland Browns. But I think Hampton's another player, by the way, that could go first round quite easily. I think he could be a mid-first round pick at highest. But Judkins for me is RB3. Donovan Ezaraku, the Patriots, they're another team that kind of needs help in a lot of areas. So getting an edge rusher, I think, is a solid idea. And he fits more of a 3-4 type of player that they traditionally have liked. Remember Josh Uche? He's a Chief. I kind of forgot about that. I think he's a free agent as well. How about Landon Jackson? He kind of tested off the charts as well, right behind Shamar Stewart, going to the Bears to bookend with Montez Sweat. And then Azare Thomas to the Saints, who may not have much in the corner department next year after trading Marshawn Lattimore and Poston Adebo's injury / headed to free agency. Next set of picks, Tyleik Williams, again for the Bears, are up here with an extra pick. Building up that D-line, I think it's a smart idea after going out and getting your guards. Trey Harris to the Jets. They did release Devontae Adams. They do have Garrett Wilson, and again, it's not a quarterback for the Jets, so they're probably going to need to bring in a veteran of some degree, unless you're thinking Jordan Travis could possibly play some this year. But either way, probably want another veteran in the room with Travis and Tyrod Taylor, I think, still under contract. Donovan Jackson to the Niners, plug him right in at left guard. Another player that could easily be a first-round pick if the right team and fit presents itself. And then Darian Porter to the Cowboys. Again, not going running back yet, but we're getting Darian Porter at corner. Both star corners for Dallas are hurt headed into this offseason. Trayvon Diggs has dealt with injuries now for a few years. Dron Bland injured this season as well. They could use another corner anyway, and then with those injuries, kind of propels corner to being one of their top needs for me. And Darian Porter, again, with that 40 time that I mentioned. 4-3 flat at 6'3", nearly 200 pounds. I think that would be a nice addition for their defense. Next set of picks, Jonah Savanaia for my Colts. There's some uncertainty. I mentioned this earlier. Will Fry is a free agent. Don't know what we're going to do at right guard if he isn't re-signed. And Braden Smith at right tackle missed the majority of the latter half of the season with an undisclosed reason. Wasn't injury, personal matter. And we still don't know. We do know that we can save $19 million in cap if he is moved on from. So what I'm kind of thinking with this is maybe we let Will Fries go to free agency. Maybe we let Braden Smith go to free agency as well. And Jonah can come in and play either right tackle or right guard. Matt Goncalves could play the other position or maybe do something else in free agency. Keep the offensive line strong, and we get a tight end in this mock, I think is the best case scenario for Anthony Richardson's development, which, contrary to what Chris Ballard has said about bringing in competition, I think is still the most important thing for the Colts in the 2025 season is to see whether or not Anthony Richardson can actually be the quarterback of the future and the present. Most notably, he needs to be the quarterback of the present as well. You hope, but I'll move on. Isaiah Bond for the Falcons, another receiver. I know it's another highly drafted skill position player, but the Falcons need more receiving talent behind Drake London. Marcus Bo to the Cardinals. They need, again, I mentioned they need to rebuild their offensive line with the exception of Paris Johnson. Bo can play right tackle, he can play guard, and they've got Kelvin Beacham's on roster. They've got Jonah Williams, I think played some right tackle for them, former Bengal left tackle. Dolphins get Darius Alexander. This is a guy I consider for the Eagles at 32. Similar fit, that Milton Williams guy. He's not exactly Christian Wilkins either as a play style, but the Dolphins haven't replaced Christian Wilkins yet with a good run defending defensive tackle, and I think Darius Alexander could come in and do that well for them. Next set of players, Tate Ratledge replacing Alex Kappa. That one's pretty straightforward. Did I skip 4 picks? No. Sorry, I thought I skipped that. Alec Aomanor going to the Seahawks. They do grab a receiver. Travion Henderson to the Broncos. Devontae Williams is a free agent. They do have a couple of younger backs there, but if you don't re-sign Devontae, you probably need somebody who can give you 10 to 15 touches a game. And then probably the most notable second-round pick I've got here is Jalen Milroe to the Steelers. And I think there's a world where he could start as a rookie with the Steelers. It kind of just depends on who they bring back and how they perform. And if the Steelers are winning games with whoever it is, then they probably won't start Milroe as a rookie, short of injury. But I do think Milroe would be a quarterback the Steelers would target and really like to turn the reins over to in 2026. And to get him at 52, again, without having to trade up, it's like, why not take the shot on him? Next set of picks, a couple Notre Dame secondary players. Xavier Watts to the Bucks. Benjamin Morrison to the Packers. I'm going to suck with the pronunciation. Excuse me, because I thought it was just Chavon or Chavon. I think it's Savone Revel. And it might even be Revel. I am very sorry, sir. I don't know how to pronounce your name yet. I'm so sorry. But he's going to the Chargers. And then Jack Sawyer to the Bills for some edge reinforcement there. Von Miller's getting older. Next set of picks, Jalen Royals. I think could make a good trio of receivers for the Panthers. Jacob Besh. Apparently, not Beck. Besh. Going to the Texans, Stephon Diggs is a free agent. Tank Dell, unfortunately, injured. So you need another guy to go with Nico Collins, of course. Andrew Makuba to the Ravens to pair him up with Kyle Hamilton and among their safety group. I'm trying to get through this quickly, and I probably shouldn't be going as quickly as I am. My apologies. T.J. Sanders to the Lions. We're going to continue to build up that D line, or rebuild that D line, along with Aiden Hutchinson, of course. The last set of players here for round 2, it's going to be Cameron Williams to the Commanders. He could play right guard. Sam Cosmi is going to start the season injured. So if he isn't able to win out the right tackle job, he could possibly play right guard as a rookie. Demetrius Knight. The Bills have an extra pick here. They go with Knight. They need some help in that linebacker room, I think. And you typically see linebackers take a while to develop. I think Zach Bond's a great example of that. So, the Bills, who are in a win-now situation with Josh Allen, they're taking kind of an interesting mix of players, but I do think Demetrius Knight can contribute right away. Chiefs, with their second pick, going to go with Bashal Tutton, or Tootin. I've heard it both ways, so not convinced on it. It could very well be Tootin. But as much as I really do like Isaiah Pacheco, he did not look good at the end of last season, and you hope that he was just coming off injury too soon, I guess, and that he wasn't up to full speed again. But even if he comes back and is good, I think they could use somebody that's not Kareem Hunt to be the backup running back. And I like Carson Steele. He's my guy. But you need somebody else in that room. And then Princely Umanmelon. I'm so sorry. I'm doing much worse in the second round with names as I was in the first round. Umanmelon. There we go, I think. Edge rusher out of Ole Miss. I'm very sorry. If anyone ever sees this and is like, oh boy, this guy doesn't know how to say anything, is English even his first language? I apologize. But this is essentially your Josh Sweat replacement and rotational defensive end. I really like Nolan Smith. I just want to make note of him, but they do need some more help on that edge, I think. Jalix Hunt's there, and even have Bryce Huff from the Jets, but I think keep building up the defense, keep it strong, keep it a strength of that football team. So there you have it. There's rounds 1 through 2. Round 3 is kind of a rapid fire. So Jordan, I'm just going to kind of read off the names, I think, at this point. Giants, Joshua Farmer. Chiefs, Omar Norman Lott. Browns, Kevin Winston. Raiders, Carson Schlesinger. Patriots, Elijah Arroyo. Jaguars, Mason Taylor. Saints, Oluwafemi Oladeo. Yes. Bears, Jalen Noel. Raiders, Jaden Higgins. Panthers, Alfred Collins. 49ers, Noel Williams. Jalen Noel, probably. Noel Williams. Cowboys, Caleb Johnson. Patriots, Dalen Walker. Cardinals, C.J. West. Commanders, Alexander. Colts, Danny Stutzman. Bengals, Billy Bowman. Seahawks, Mitchell Evans. And the second half, Steelers, Josh Connerly. Buccaneers, Jordan Phillips. Broncos, Jordan Birch. Chargers, Jared Wilson, first center off the board. Packers, Torrey Horton. Jaguars, Ty Robinson. Texans, Trevor Etienne. Rams, Quinn Ewers, next quarterback, QB5, I believe. Be able to sit behind Matt Stafford would be good for his development. Ravens, Kyle Kennard. Jets, Terrence Ferguson. Saints, Chris Paul Jr. No, not that Chris Paul Jr. Browns, Tez Johnson. Chiefs, Kyle Williams. Eagles, Lathan Ransom. Vikings, Dylan Sampson. Dolphins, Zaw Frazier. 49ers, Savion Williams. Wouldn't he be an interesting player? Line him up with Christian McCaffrey, you don't know who's getting the ball. Rams, Jake Briningstool. And the Lions are going to round it out with pick 101, taking Charles Grant out of William and Mary. That is rounds 1 through 3. I think I hit on everything I wanted to. One other note about the Niners there, pick 99. Have already traded Deebo Samuel to the Commanders and may still be looking to trade Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if I would want to do that as well. but that could be in the cards potentially in the coming days for the 49ers. But that is rounds 1 through 3. I did write down these names to look at primarily in round 4, and I won't list I won't read off every single name for the sake of time. But Tyler Shuck is kind of the next best quarterback prospect in most people's opinions. I do like Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, the quarterbacks that follow. Definitely draftable guys. Will Howard did have a bit of a struggle at the combine, and can I just say a note about people booing at the combine? You're mad that Ohio State won the championship, so you're booing, or you're mad that Ohio State beat IU or Notre Dame, and you're booing? Come on, man. Anyway, running backs, Giddens, Scatabo, Neal, Harvey, Martinez. These are all guys that could be starting running backs in the league easily. You probably just won't see them go in round 1, 2, or 3 because it is a deep running back class. And, you could get a guy like maybe Marcus Yarns in like the 6th round or something. So it's a deep class of running backs, obviously. I think this class is deep at a lot of positions that people really haven't noted, but I think it's actually a very good class. People like to say, well, there's not enough top end talent. It's like, well, there seems to be plenty of top end talent when I do my mock drafts. It's very competitive, very difficult to put a name to a team and be like, yeah, they will take this player because they need this position, and not take this other player that's could be equally as good. So I think it's a very good draft class from top to bottom, in all honesty. A lot of receivers, Restrepo, Cam Ward's number 1 guy. Dante Thornton and Isaac Tesla did themselves a lot of favors at the combine. Tight ends, Gunnar Helm. What happened to Tyler Helm? He sprained his ankle. And don't look that up unless you want to see a nasty looking bruise. But Gunnar Helm sprained his ankle during his 40. The first attempt at his 40, ran like 4.9, and then still ran another time at 4.8. So he's a tight end that I really do like a lot. You just, not everybody can go round 2, 3, you know what I mean? So he's a guy, I think, if he's there day 4 and you need a tight end, along with Harold Fannin, Luke Lachey, I think you probably take him in round 4. Ariante Ursary, Anthony Belton, Wyatt Millam, Darren Fairchild, Eli Cox, Luke Kandra. Shout out to Corey Kiner and Luke Kandra, Cincinnati guys. Connor Colby, Joe Huber. These are offensive linemen that will probably be off the board in round 4. A lot of good offensive prospects remaining. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, JT Tuimoloau, one of my more one of the guys I really wanted to find a spot for, but just couldn't. In all honesty, I think he's probably a fringe day 2 kind of a prospect. I think he might be kind of limited in what he's able to be really good at in the NFL, but I think he's still a good player and probably will be a 4th round pick or so. Jared Ivey is interesting to me. Savion Jones, a lot of edge rushers and D tackles. How about I should note Ty Hamilton as well, but how about Thor Griffith? And I've kind of coined the phrase Thor Griffith agenda. I don't know why exactly, but consider me a Thor Griffith fan. I don't know how Thor Griffith wasn't invited to the combine. And I get only so many players can be. But how does he not get an invite? I don't know. I think he's, going to be in that 4th round mix as well. And I think he'll be a player taken, and people are watching the draft and like, I don't remember seeing this guy at the combine. And they're going to be like, wow, why is he going so high? He's deserving of going at this range, I would say, around 4 or 5. I think you'll see Thor Griffith off the board, former Harvard defensive tackle. Played with Louisville and had a decent season. I don't get why no combine invite. And I tried to do some research into that and couldn't really find anything. Didn't see that he was hurt or anything. He's 6'2", 320 pounds, had 3 sacks this past season, had 11 and a half for his career. I like him. I think if the Colts took him in the 4th round, I'd be on board. Linebackers, Smile Mondon. I almost said Smile. Smile, Barrett Carter, Nick Martin helped his draft stock a lot with the combine. Jay Higgins is interesting. He did not have a good 40-yard time, but I think he actually had a decent split. Okay, no, I say he didn't have a decent time. He had the very slowest split time. So he didn't have a good start, and it didn't get much better. But, I don't know, a productive linebacker, I think he still goes like 4th, 5th round probably. He did not do anything to help his stock, you know what I mean? Jay Higgins this year at Iowa had 124 tackles. He had 171 in 2023. He also had, he had 3.5 sacks in his career. He's got 5 picks, 3 forced fumbles. He's just, he's a pretty productive linebacker. And I do think he gets, middle of day 3, early to middle day 3 as opposed to late day 3. A lot of corners in this group. Dorian Strong, Denzel Burke, Quincy Riley. These are all guys that can be starters probably immediately, depending on the team. Mello Dotson, the 2 Kansas guys, along with Kobe Bryant. O'Donnell Fortune. Shout out to O'Donnell for having a cool name. And then even the safety group, Malachi Moore, I was very, very high on him previously. Last year, looking at last year's class, Jalen Reed, Catan Crawford, R.J. Mickens, Sebastian Castro, Jonas Sanker, Dante Trader, all safeties that could very well go off the board round 4, or maybe even 3, but round 4 to 5. But those are all players to be looking forward to for day 3. And that pretty much will wrap up the video finally. This is going to be one of my longer mocks videos, I think, ever. I mean, I've only done like 5 or 6, but certainly it's going to be a long one. If you stay to the end, thank you so much for watching this whole thing. It was a project. It took me a little bit of time, but I really like doing this kind of thing. I like doing mock drafts. I like doing the videos. So I probably will do one more before the draft. And the draft is on the 24th. 24th of April. I'm in the wrong month. It's 24th of April, which is a Thursday. So I don't know when I'll do that final video. I might do it like over the weekend before the draft, and then get it out a day or 2 before the draft. Would probably be my idea. But before that, obviously, free agency starts on March 12th, which is in less than a week now. Today's the 6th as I record this. And I hope to get this video up today as well, but it might take me an extra day to the 7th. We'll see. But and then the draft, like I mentioned, April 24th through 26th. Pro days are going on right now, so that'll be some more valuable information, although how reliable is a 40-yard dash time from a pro day? So we'll see. We'll see what we learn. But free agency starts in a few days. I'll have another mock video before the end of the draft season, and then we'll have the draft. And then we can move on to 2025 immediately and start talking about Drew Aller versus Arch Manning. All right. Thanks for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, all that good stuff. That is it for me. I am Skillet. You can call me Ian. I don't know why I'm doing this here at the end. Probably should have done it at the beginning. But, yeah, I am trying to do more than just post Roblox and mock draft videos, so hopefully I get back into some actual gaming and not just random Roblox stuff. The SpongeBob game, somebody actually messaged me on Roblox, and I don't think I ever replied to him, but somebody asked if I still play the SpongeBob game. I really don't, because there's really nothing to do. But the last video on my YouTube channel was actually 2 months ago, and it was the SpongeBob game. So maybe I'll do a final stream of that to wrap that up, and then start doing some games. I do want to get to Jedi Survivor on stream finally. And I may even stream Stellar Blade. I did start that game and haven't finished it though, so we'll see. But, you know, NFL mock draft season takes up a lot of my time, my free time, rather than playing games. So we'll see. But thanks for watching. Bye-bye. That's all I got. That's the outro. Bye. Godspeed. Thank you. Goodbye. So long. I just go into the, well, you're still here? The video's over. You should leave. You might as well just leave now. Video's over. I go into that for like 5 minutes. Okay, that's it. That's the end. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.